Anybody get a chance to check out those coins in the clerk's office?
No, but I saw one of yours yesterday.
Yeah, you're not getting it.
I think you already gave me one, did you? No?
I might have given you a brewer one, yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe
You're
one of
live.
those- I think I gave you a scratch coin from the Maine State Lottery.
I guess we're live, folks.
Yep.
And it's 1 o'clock. We'll get going. Good afternoon, folks. This is a work session of the Committee on Transportation. This afternoon, we will be deliberating 4 bills that have been heard earlier this week and last week. The purpose of this work session is for the committee to receive information from staff and others in order for members to consider the proposals that will be before us. As you know, we are holding this work session by way of Zoom. A reminder that we are live, we can be seen and we can be heard. At this time, I would ask committee members to please introduce themselves. Representative O'Donnell.
Thank you, sir. Kevin O'Connell, District 128, represent Good Part of Brewer.
Thank you, sir. Representative Williams.
Thank you, sir. Representative Lynn Williams, District 135, representing Bar Harbor, the town of Mount Desert, and Lemoyne.
Thank you. Representative Senator Farren. Senator Farren, you've.
Hey, good afternoon, folks. I'm Brad Farren. I live in Norwich Walk. Represent Senate District 3, which is the majority of Somerset County.
Good afternoon, Senator. Representative Bruce White.
Yes, thank you, Chairman Martin. I am Bruce White from Waterville, represent Bruce White from Waterville, District 109. And right behind me is a map and pinpointing either Augusta or Waterville, you can choose.
And clearly that's not Sinclair, correct?
Exactly.
Thank you. Representative Bryant.
Thank you, Chair Martin. I am Mark Bryan. I represent House District 24, part of the town of Wyndham. Welcome all.
All right. Thank you, Mark. Representative Perkins.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Mike Perkins. I represent District 77. That's Oakland and Sydney.
Thank you, sir. Representative Wayne Perry.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Wayne Perry. I represent House District 10, which covers Arundel, Dayton, and most of Lyman.
Great, thank you. I think we've covered it all. I'll be chairing this afternoon. Senator Diamond had another commitment, but may join us a little later. Also, as you know, our analysts, Sam Prower and Julia McDonald, and our wonderful committee clerk, Darlene Simino, are also in attendance.
Representative Barton.
Oh, I'm sorry, Senator. I didn't see you up there.
You overlooked an important member of the committee.
I know.
Senator Chipman, Ben Chipman. I represent Senate District 27, which is part of the city of Portland.
Thank you, Senator. Sorry, I apologize. Our first bill this afternoon will be 1749, followed by LD 796, and then LD 1876, and last but certainly not least, LD 1892. Sam, why don't we start with 1749, and since LD 796 rather has some resemblance, feel free to discuss both of them at this time.
All right, thank you, Representative Martin. Just bear with me while I pull up my bill analysis on the screen. All right, can everybody see that? It's not on the top yet. Now, can you see it?
Yeah.
Okay, so in anticipation of being asked to do it at the same time, I have put LD 796 and 1749 on a single bill analysis for the committee. As you'll recall, these are both bills that deal with the catalytic converter sales and theft issue. 796, as it originally drafted, restricts any person other than a holder of an inspection mechanic certificate from selling a catalytic converter that has been removed from a motor vehicle. In 1749, as it is originally drafted, imposes additional record-keeping requirements on a junkyard, automobile recycling business, or scrap metal processor that purchases a used catalytic converter. Now, I know the committee received the report from the BMV Working Group on Catalytic Converters last week, and that report proposed changes to these proposals, regardless of which bill that you end up moving forward with. But I did want to just go through a couple notes on my bill analysis before turning it back over to you. I provided links to the text of each bill in the titles here. So these are active hyperlinks. Every committee member should have them if you want to pull up on your screen what the original bill said. And then I also provided links to our electronic LD files, which have the testimony that we received on each of the bills. Moving down, I did provide the committee a refresher for my bill analysis last year on how current law handles the scrap metal processing and reporting and how that applies to catalytic converters, particularly if you want to see what is currently in statute. Moving down, as I noted, I believe that the Secretary of State has prepared an amendment to the language based on the recommendations in their report, and that has been also forwarded to the committee. So you should all have that, but I also have it on my desktop if you need me to share my screen and show it to you. But I believe that a representative from the department, perhaps David Gilmet, is in the room if you want someone to walk you through what those changes are. And then one last thing I wanted to note, just given the recommendations in the report, to the extent that these recommendations might create new crimes or that are being proposed outside the current criminal code and how those might fit into the overall structure of our criminal laws, the committee may consider seeking advice from the Criminal Law Advisory Commission and/or another legislative committee. Any creation of new criminal laws or processes could also make relevant certain constitutional issues that may need to be considered. And I will just tell you that having looked at the proposal that we received from BMV, there are some questions regarding Fourth Amendment issues that I think should be addressed. And then just a couple of notes here. There is the Criminal Law Advisory Commission, and they're an ongoing commission that's been established to review new criminal law proposals. They meet every 2 weeks on Fridays, and I provided a link to their governing statutes and their membership here. And then also a little summary about Joint Rule 319, which is that whenever a legislative proposal enacts a new crime or increases the penalty for an existing crime, that proposal, if approved by the committee, would go to the Committee on Criminal Justice and Public Safety for review. And there's a link here to the joint rules portion. And those are just some things to keep in mind if you're going to move forward with this. But that being said, I don't know, maybe you want to hear from the department on their proposal. And that's all I have for now, unless there are other questions for me.
Thank you, Sam. As some of you may know, Senator Diamond and I discussed both 1749 and 796 at length. And it's my understanding that Senator Diamond also conferred with folks from the Secretary of State's office. Senator Diamond shared with me earlier this morning that he once served as chair of criminal justice. And quite frankly, having discussed and seen the in-depth report on these two bills, certainly we can discuss that, but it would be my thought to send at least one of these over to criminal justice and potentially dispose of LD 796. With that in mind, a discussion from committee members. Senator Farren.
Yeah, Chairman, I agree. I mean, I think the working group and the report that we got back was pretty in depth. And as a matter of fact, all you got to do is pick up the the newspaper any one of these days, and it's a continuing problem. And I noticed when we even had this discussion, we had already started down that rabbit hole of talking about what the penalties should be. And I really think that probably is out of our purview. And my thoughts are, after hearing the testimony and comparison, that with as busy as all the committees are, instead of sending them two bills, I think LD 796 was a carryover, and that was kind of the vehicle before, that we would dispose of 1749 and then move 796 over to criminal justice. And that's what I would propose, and curious as what other members of the committee have to think about that process.
Yeah, Senator Farren, a great thought. If you go to hold off on any pending motion so we could have some discussion, Representative Wayne Perry.
Yeah, I mean, there wouldn't have been a Secretary of State's working group without 796. The other one was a bill put in as an emergency, which I don't know why it was put in as emergency. We already had a bill. So I don't understand why that one was even there anyway, because it's virtually exactly the same as the vehicle that caused the working group in the first place. So I think if I just, shouldn't we work the bill and then send it, or no? I mean, I don't know which way. Either way is fine with me. I just think we should dispose of 1749, and if we want to work 796 and then send it, or if you just want to send it. I don't know if we have to add the working groups language, penalty, whatever they have put in so far, before we send it to criminal justice, because criminal justice will get a bill that has none of that.
No, correct. My thought would be to send it to criminal justice and have them do what they need to do, and then send it back to us for further review. But that's one thought. Thank you, Representative Perry. Representative Williams.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. One thought, I agree with everything that's been said, but one thing I think we should consider is sending it first to the Criminal Justice Advisory Committee. That's typically, I've worked with them on other criminal justice issues before I was a legislator, and they meet very frequently. So I think we might want to, after we work it, send it to them to get their once over, and then send it off to the Criminal Justice Legislative Committee.
Yeah, that's an idea. However, time is of the essence, and I'm not sure we have the ability to send that to an advisory committee. My preference would be, if the committee so desires to send it to anyone, it would be directly to the Committee on Criminal Justice. Representative Perkins.
Good afternoon. Thank you, Mr. Chair. I agree with Senator Farring on that. I think that it'd be the right thing to do is send out the first one as it was a carryover, and put them all together than sending them two, because they were very, very busy. And I think if we send it to criminal justice, they can carry it and do the work and send them the information that the committee has come up with.
Thank you, Representative Perkins. Sam?
Thank you, Representative Martin. I just want to clarify, because I feel like I might have heard two different things from committee members. So in terms of sending a bill to another committee, there are in this instance, there are kind of two distinct things that, two distinct options you have. So the first is kind of the Joint Rule 319 process, which is that if this committee works a bill that creates new criminal fines or penalties, the committee would essentially decide the contents of the bill. You would vote, the majority of the committee would vote in favor of whatever the proposal is, and then that proposal will be sent to the Criminal Justice Committee for Joint Rule 319 review. The other distinct option would be a committee vote to re-reference the bill to the Criminal Justice and Public Safety Committee. So those, I just wanted to make clear that those are kind of separate options. And so you guys are clear on which one you decide to do.
Just my thought, the preference would be to refer it to the committee, the second option. Senator Chipman.
Yeah, so I think that the second bill was introduced as an emergency because this situation is an emergency all across the state with the thefts that we heard about. And I'm guessing the sponsor didn't know that this bill was in the committee, or they wouldn't have introduced something that's duplicative. But at any rate, I do agree with what folks have said of disposing of that second bill that I believe Senator Dill sponsored, and then re-referring that first bill, the carryover bill, and doing that with a vote of the committee today. There is another option where the chairs and leads can agree, but I think Senator Diamond had expressed interest in having the whole committee vote.
Thank you, Senator. Representative Perry.
Yeah, just real quick, Sam. I mean, I think that we should work the bill since it's our bill, and the criminal part then goes to send the whole bill over to criminal justice. It isn't a criminal justice bill other than the penalty part. The rest of it is a transportation bill. So I think that we should send them a bill that has the penalties in it, has the requirements, and then they determine if we can do those penalties or whatever we've got to do.
So what you're saying, Representative Perry, is to work on 796, correct?
Correct.
All right.
Because I think that the bill we send over to them for review needs to be done, or done as close as it can be with the criminal parts that they've got to look at. If we re-reference the bill, we're re-referencing a bill without any of the other information. So I think we really need to send them a bill with, as amended, put the recommendations in if we all agree on those recommendations or tweak those recommendations, and then send it for their review on the criminal part, on the penalties part.
Thank you, Representative. Further discussion on this matter? The chair would now entertain a motion. Sam, your thoughts, Sam?
Sorry, and I just want to be clear. I don't have a preference on how you handle this. I just wanted to make sure that you were clear on the options. In terms of communicating with the other committee too, you can also, like, if you were to re-reference, and I want to be clear again, I don't have a preference on how you handle this. You could also send them a letter with the information about why you re-referenced it and what's there. But I want to be very clear. I'm not pushing for one thing or another. I'm just presenting the information. And then in terms of if you wanted CLAC to do a review, I do believe they're meeting this Friday. So, I mean, that would be enough time to get it to them and get it back to you somewhat expeditiously. So, I just
Sam,
also wanted to make sure you had that.
So Sam, what you're saying is we could send it to them and send them a letter as well?
Yes, you could. Well, I guess for criminal justice and public safety, if you were to re-refer it, you could send them a letter including the information that about the bill and why you referred it and what the Secretary of State's proposal is. And then separately, if you wanted to keep it and have CLAC do a review, they are meeting on Friday. So I think you could get it to them in time and get feedback in a relatively expeditious manner. So I said, I just want to make sure the committee has all that information, and I'll do whatever you decide.
Senator Chipman.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just to clarify, are we in work session on both 1749 and 796 right now, or just one of the bills?
Well, preferably we're discussing 796 at the moment, and there are thoughts of disposing 1749 since we may not need it, depending how the committee moves forward with.
Okay,
that's my understanding.
If we're in a work session on both, I was going to make a motion on 1749, but I'll wait. It sounds like we're just on one right now on 796, so I'll hold off.
Well, LD 1749 is listed first, and the chair would entertain any motion on that one.
Okay, I'll make a motion about not to pass on 1749.
Motion has been made by Senator Chipman,
Second.
and duly seconded. Discussion on LD 1749. Chair, seeing no discussion, Darlene?
Senator Diamond, he's absent. Representative Danny Martin,
Yes.
Senator Farren,
Yes.
Representative Perkins,
Yes.
Representative Perry,
Yes.
Representative Williams,
Yes,
Representative Justin White is absent. Senator Chipman,
Yes.
Representative Bryant,
Yes,
Representative Bruce White,
Yes,
Representative Tom Martin is absent. Representative O'Connell
yes,
and Representative Seaver is absent. 9 in the affirmative and 4 absent.
Thank you, Darlene. Work session on LD 1749 is now closed. We're now discussing LD 796. Discussion or motions? Senator Farren?
So, I've been in touch with the bill sponsor as well, and just, I think to Representative Perry's point, if there is anything, if we want to do a quick review, but I think the bill's been worked pretty well. I don't know if there's some things from the Secretary of State or not, but the sponsor is good from the standpoint of moving it to criminal justice, because that is where the majority of the work needs to be done as far as the penalties and that piece of it.
Thank you. Is that a motion, Senator?
I'd like to have some further discussion just for a minute. I see some shaking of heads that people would like to talk. So I don't want to curtail the discussion.
Thank you, Senator. Representative Perry?
Yeah, I think 99% of this bill is a transportation bill. The 1% is the penalty. Is it okay if we do those penalties? It's a penalty review. That's the only part that's going to be in criminal justice. The rest of it is a transportation bill. So I think we need to either put the Secretary of State's recommendations in, and we can tweak those if we want to. We can make the penalties stronger, or, I'm a big penalties on this one, but also we can get it into effect, see if it works. And if we need to add an additional penalty or an additional thing, we can do that, anytime.
Right.
But I think we should move in the Secretary of State's recommendations, maybe see the list, all of us, get a thing of what we're voting on, and, make that as the amended bill, and then send it to criminal justice for the penalty phase.
Thank you, Representative. Senator Chipman?
Yeah, I completely concur with Senator Perry on that. And I think we'd be doing a real service to our friends over on the Criminal Justice Committee to do exactly that, to add in, the recommendations or some variation of those from the Secretary of State, and then send it to them just to look at the penalties. Because if we don't do that, they don't, with all due respect to them, it's not their area of expertise on the rest of the bill other than the penalties. They're going to be having to essentially have another whole public hearing just to understand that. So why create that work for them when we can do that here today?
All right, thank you. See no further discussion. Darlene, do we have anyone from the Secretary of State's office available?
We do. We got Kathy Curtis and Dave Gilmet.
All right, can you call them both in, please?
I can. Here comes Kathy first. Not this Dave. Okay, they're here.
All right, thank you, Darlene.
You're welcome.
Folks, I'm assuming that you were listening. We're now discussing LD 796. And I would turn it over to either Kathy or the other gentleman on board. The floor is yours.
I defer to Dave Gilmet.
Welcome, Ms. Curtis. Would you like to discuss what you might have to offer?
We do have an amendment that Dave Gilmet will be would like to go over with you to explain the components of the amendment and the reasoning why.
Great,
I
thank
will turn it
thank
over
you,
to him.
Captain.
Thank
Mr.
you very
Gilmet,
much.
Mr. Gilmet, are you available?
I am Representative Martin.
Good afternoon, sir.
Representative Martin and distinguished members of the Transportation Committee. My name's David Gilmet. I'm the director and I oversee law enforcement, anti-theft and regulation. And we have an amendment, a proposed amendment to the report that we submitted to you last week, that the Secretary of State submitted to you last week. And Representative Martin, would you like to have me read down through our proposals? And then,
Yeah, Mr. Gilmer, rather, I'm not sure if every committee member has seen the amendment. I've seen it just this morning. Is there an opportunity for you to put that up on the screen, or if not, just outline your amendment?
I think that Joanne Batista had sent that to Sam, I believe.
Yeah, yes, she has. Sam?
I can share my screen while Mr. Gilmet walks you through it if you would like.
That would be great. Is that okay, Mr. Gilmet?
Yes, it is. That would be
All
fine.
right, go ahead, Sam.
All right, can everybody see that?
Yep.
And I'll zoom in a little to make it more legible.
All right.
Yes, as you can see, in Title 29A, Chapter 9, Subchapter 7, catalytic converters, we propose, I'm sorry, let me back up just a little bit. In Title 29A, 952, Subchapter 1B, under C, the proposal is engrave a full vehicle identification number of the vehicle on the catalytic converter prior to the retail sale of all vehicles where the catalytic converter is clearly visible from the underside of the vehicle. The marking shall be done in a manner that the vehicle identification number is clearly visible and legible. Do you, Representative Martin, would you like to have me stop at each one and answer any questions or continue?
Well, I am not seeing a panelist. Are there any questions from committee members? Seeing none, if you could continue, Mr. Gilman.
Okay. Chapter 9, subchapter 7, catalytic converters. The purpose of this subchapter is to define the detached possession, purchase and sale, transport and disposal of a catalytic converter. Unless otherwise stated, a catalytic converter is defined in Title 30A, Section 3771. 2, detachment of a catalytic converter. A recycler that detaches a catalytic converter from a motor vehicle shall ensure that the catalytic converter is marked. Unless the recycler is utilizing a stock number system, the detached catalytic converter shall be marked with the full vehicle identification number of the vehicle from which the catalytic converter was removed. A recycler utilizing the stock number in place of a full vehicle identification number shall mark the detached catalytic converter with the stock number and the recycler's license number. The marking shall be done using engraving or other permanent marking method and shall be done in a manner that the vehicle identification number is clearly visible and legible. Any
questions from committee members? Darlene, I'm not seeing my full screen, so if you see a hands up, if you could bring that to my attention.
Yep. Do you want me to just interrupt?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
All
I'm
right.
good at that.
All right, if you could continue, Mr. Gilman.
Okay. B, when a catalytic converter is detached from the motor vehicle, the person or entity responsible for the detachment shall ensure the catalytic converter is engraved with the full vehicle identification number of the vehicle from which the catalytic converter was removed. The marking shall be done in a manner that the vehicle identification number is clearly visible and legible. The penalty violation of this section, section 2, is a Class E crime. 3, purchase and sale of a catalytic converter and the contents. The following provisions shall apply to the purchase and sale of catalytic converters and contents. Only a licensed recycler may purchase or acquire a catalytic converter that has been detached from a motor vehicle. A business that deals in the removal of the contents of detached catalytic converters shall be licensed as a recycler. B, a recycler who purchases or acquires a catalytic converter must comply with the provisions of Title 30A, Chapter 183, Subchapter 1A. Prior to the disposal or within 10 days of purchasing or acquiring a detached catalytic converter, a recycler shall submit to a regional property and recovery tracking system administered by a regional law enforcement support organization designated by the Department of the Secretary of State Bureau of Motor Vehicles in a form acceptable to the recipient, a report of the transaction including 1, the name and address of the recycler, 2, the date and time of the transaction, 3, the name, address, date of birth, telephone number, if any, and a unique identifying number on a valid form of identification of the consumer or seller, and 4, the vehicle identification number marked on the catalytic converter, the stock number and license number, if applicable, and in the amount of purchase price. D, a recycler shall not purchase or acquire a detached catalytic converter unless it has been clearly marked with the full vehicle identification number of the vehicle from which it was removed. A recycler shall not remove the contents of a catalytic converter unless the catalytic converter has been clearly marked in accordance with subsection 1. A recycler shall not sell, detach a catalytic converter for retail, but may sell the detached catalytic converter wholesale to other scrap metal processors. Violation of subsections 2A, 2B, or 2C is a Class E crime. The violation of sections 2D, 2E is a Class D crime. A violation of section 2F is a Class E crime. Transportation of a catalytic converter. The following provisions shall apply to the transportation of a catalytic converter. A recycler transporting detached catalytic converters shall allow the inspection of a catalytic converter in the load upon request of a law enforcement officer. A recycler transporting catalytic converters that are marked only with the stock number and the recycler's license number shall have a manifest. The manifest shall be provided to law enforcement upon request. The manifest shall include the stock number, the vehicle identification numbers, and the name of the recycler that marked the catalytic converters. C, individuals may not transport unmarked catalytic converters. When lawfully stopped by a law enforcement officer, individuals who are transporting one or more catalytic converters shall allow the inspection of the catalytic converter upon request of the law enforcement officer. A violation of section 3 is a Class E crime. Misrepresentation. A recycler shall not mark a catalytic converter in any manner that the recycler knows or ought to know is not the vehicle identification number of the vehicle from which the catalytic converter was removed. B, a person or entity shall not mark a catalytic converter in any manner that person or entity knows or ought to know is not the vehicle identification number of the vehicle from which the catalytic converter was removed. A violation of subsection 4 is a Class E crime. Illegal possession of catalytic converters. A person is guilty of illegal possession of a catalytic converter if the person who is a recycler exercises control over one or more detached catalytic converters that have not been clearly marked with either the full vehicle identification number of the vehicle from which it was removed, or the stock number and recycler's license number of the catalytic converters detached by licensed recyclers. This paragraph applies to any individual who is not a licensed recycler who exercises control over 2 or more detached catalytic converters. B, the person or entity who exercises control over 1 or more detached catalytic converters and the vehicle identification number or the stock number and recycler's license number has been removed or defaced.
Representative Bryant has a question before you go any further.
Representative Bryan. You're muted, Mark. Yep.
Yeah, I actually can wait to the end, but I want to go back to the very beginning of section 2 and the first A, and had some notation on there, but we might as well finish all of this and come back if he wants, because there are probably other questions, but I just want to make note of that when we get there, when we come back through, okay?
Okay, Representative Bryan, why don't we allow Mr. Gilmet to conclude and then we can go back to your section. Mr. Gilmet?
C, yes, Representative Martin.
Oh,
C,
no, go ahead, sir.
C, a violation of this section 5 is a Class D crime. If the person violates paragraph A or B and at the time of the offense has 1 or more prior convictions within the past 5 years for violating paragraph A and B or B, it is a Class C crime. Disposal of unmarked catalytic converters. A person who exercises ownership over an unmarked detached catalytic converter that cannot be marked with the vehicle identification number of the vehicle from which it was removed may request the Secretary of State assign and attach to the catalytic converter a new vehicle identification number. Upon providing credible proof of ownership, the Secretary of State shall attach a new vehicle identification number and maintain a record of that number. All unmarked catalytic converters that have been impounded or seized by law enforcement shall become the property of the Secretary of State. The Secretary of State shall mark the catalytic converters prior to disposal. A licensed recycler is authorized to dispose of catalytic converters that have been marked by the Secretary of State. The proceeds from the sales of the impounded and seized catalytic converters shall be allocated to the Highway Fund. And Title 30A, Municipalities and Counties. Under definitions, 2, catalytic converter, a device incorporated into the exhaust system of a motor vehicle containing a catalyst for converting pollutant gases into less harmful ones. And then that caused a change in the numbering of the different sections. So 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, those were just the numbers being changed. But under seller, under 7, seller, there was a small change. It says sells or trades detached catalytic converters. And if we go to section 3772 or subsection 3772, records of purchase maintained scrap metal processes. The addition there is under exceptions, under 2 exceptions. And the change in that paragraph is The exception does not apply to the purchase of vehicles, vehicle parts, or catalytic converters. The next change in Title 30A would be under 3. And it would be about the middle of the paragraph. A scrap metal processor purchasing vehicles or vehicle parts from a licensed recycler shall obtain a copy of the seller's recycler's license. And moving on to paragraph I. The full vehicle I'm sorry, let me back up just a little bit. Moving on to paragraph G. The change here is this section does not apply to transactions in which a scrap metal processor purchases, transfers, or otherwise conveys scrap metal to another scrap metal processor or purchases from a licensed recycler. And then moving down to paragraph I, the full vehicle identification number or stock number and recycler's license number from a detached catalytic converter. An unmarked catalytic converter may not be purchased and must be reported to the Secretary of State. Under 3773, maintenance of records and statements. The only change there under paragraph 1 was the records must be kept for 5 years. This brings it in line with all other licensed automobile dealers. Under 3775, restrictions on the purchase and sale of scrap metal. License required. A scrap metal processor may not purchase or acquire vehicles or vehicle parts unless properly licensed as a recycler under the provisions of Title 29A, subsection 1101. 2, documentation of certain items. And the only change in that first sentence was may not purchase, and the change is or acquire. And then the changes from this point on is a numbering after marked with certain initials. It was marked number 1, and we went A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K, L, M, N. And those numbers had to be changed because of our prior changes. In the very last paragraph, the change we made there was after processor, and we added or purchases made from licensed recyclers. That those are all the changes that we proposed to the committee. If there are any questions, I'll be glad to try to answer them for you.
Yeah, Mr. Gilmet, the working group and clearly your office are to be commended on this outstanding work that you've done. I think Representative Bryant has a question or comment.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I was going back to section 2 of chapter 9, subsection 7, the very beginning almost. And I saw some pink highlighting there and a little notation on in the outside of the paper. I just wonder what that means and if it's any relevance to us.
Sam, can we go back to that section?
Yeah, let me pull it back up. And I did get an email that that they meant to send us a version without these little comments in it. I believe because this is a draft of the amendment, it's not entirely complete. But I think this is the section that Representative Bryant was referring to.
Correct.
And if I may offer, Those were some internal comments that should have been removed since before it was sent to you. Some things that we were checking on ourselves, and also a couple of areas that we were grappling with that perhaps the Criminal Justice Committee could offer input on, would be on how best to handle it. So we apologize for giving you the copy with the comments on it.
Okay, great.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
While you've got your screen up on B, just a housekeeping matter and just a question. Title 30A, should that not be MRSA? Or
Are you asking me, Representative Martin?
yeah, B. You see where it says Title 30A MRS? Should that not be MRSA?
I think for this cross-reference, we might actually be able to remove the MRS altogether, but I have to double check.
Sure.
But
It's-
there are
Just real quick. It's Title 30A, pause, MRS chapter. It looks funny on there, but I think that's what it would be.
Yeah.
Just like 29A,
Right.
and then it's MRS, main revised statutes.
Yep. Yeah. Sam will take a look at that. Go ahead, Sam.
I do want to note for the committee that because this was a draft provided by the department, if the committee moves forward with this proposal, there are a number of formatting things that like we will go through it with a fine-tooth comb on the formatting, and also as long as I have permission from the committee, I will work with the department to make sure that anything that gets changed remains accurate to the original proposal. So, but I just looking through this presentation, I think there are a number of things we might have to reword a little bit and restructure a little bit, but it won't change the content.
So question, Sam, assuming that we move forward and the committee desires to move forward in an amended version and that passes the committee structure, should we not, because of the violations and the different classes, still send that to criminal justice?
So it's as a committee, it's your call about whether you're going to re-refer a bill, but in terms of sending it to criminal justice for simply a review, the joint rule 319 process requires you to send it to criminal justice for review. So if the committee moves forward with this, like I said before, if it moves forward with this proposal, once we have the final language in transportation, we'll send a letter to criminal justice with the amendment on it, and then they will do the Rule 319 review for this committee and send their input back to you. But in that instance, the bill remains in transportation's possession. Does that make sense?
Yep, gotcha. All right, further discussion, Representative Bryant.
Yeah, on that note though, in the interim, could we send it for where they're meeting Friday and just have a review of it while we're doing our little thing? Because that might be the smart thing. Then we can decide where we want to go to criminal justice. But I'd like to see if we could get a review where it is there tomorrow. Just a thought.
That, Representative Bryant, is clearly one option. Another option would be to send it for review and, vote on it today and send it for review. Further discussion on this matter? Mr. Gilmet, I see your hand is up. Go ahead, sir.
Yes, Representative Martin, there was a fiscal note for this bill, and in the initial report, it was under the staffing recommendations, and there was the fiscal report hadn't been sent to the committee. Would you like to have that sent to your committee?
Oh, that would be great, but do you have the numbers on the fiscal analysis?
The total number without my calculator
Right.
is around $777.
Well, that's pretty minor, is it not? I mean, it's,
That is for 3 officers, a supervisor, and a support person.
all right.
I can forward that to you.
If you could, in an email rather quickly. Further discussion. Thank you, Mr. Gilmet. Representative Perry.
Yeah, Mr. Gilmet, is that 700,000?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Yep.
Mr. Chair,
Go ahead, sir.
I make a motion to pass as amended with the Secretary of State changes. I think it's a good start. We may need to tweak it down the road, but I think, we've got to move forward with this. This is a real problem.
Second.
Second.
Motion has been made on 796, duly seconded. Discussion. Seeing none. Darlene? Darlene, are you ready to call the roll?
I was muted. Senator Diamond, absent. Representative Martin,
Yes.
Senator Farren,
Yes.
Representative Perkins,
Yes.
Representative Perry,
Yes.
Representative Williams,
Yes.
Representative Dustin White is absent. Senator Chipman,
Yes.
Representative Bryant,
Yes.
Representative Bruce White,
Yes.
Representative Tom Martin is absent. Representative O'Connell
Yes.
and Representative Seabrook absent. So 9 in the affirmative and 4 absent.
Thank you, Darlene. Question, Sam? Sam, Sam,
Sorry, I lost the unmute button. Did
That's
you have
okay.
a question or?
I'm assuming that you know the results of the motion that was made.
Yep.
How do we now proceed? Do we send that to criminal justice?
So I think it would, I guess there are 2 ways you could proceed. Normally, I would say that I would work to put the amendment into kind of its final form before we send it to criminal justice. But you could also expedite that process, given that the policy of the bill isn't necessarily going to change, and give them the draft version so you can get their input faster. I guess my other question is do you want me to give this draft to CLAC so they can provide their input to you soon, as in by tomorrow, so they can review it tomorrow?
My thought would be the sooner the better.
So I just wanted to make sure. So I can get it off to criminal justice as soon as possible, and then in terms of getting it in front of CLAC, that's something you also would like me to do?
That would be my thought. You okay with that, Representative Perry, since you made the motion? I see. Yeah, Sam, go ahead.
Yes.
All right. Representative Perry, did you have a comment? No, okay, great. Well, we've disposed of LD 796. Thank you very much for the discussion and your thoughts. Work session on 796 is now closed. We're now moving forward with LD 1876, which is an act regarding abandoned motor vehicle storage fees, which was sponsored by our very own Representative Bryant. Sam.
All right, let me just take a moment to pull up my bill analysis again. And we're not on the right tab, so, oh, that's the wrong one. Okay, does everybody see this?
Yeah.
All right, so this bill is pretty simple. It increases the maximum total storage charges applicable to abandoned vehicles from $900 to $1,500 for a 30-day period. I have provided you just some excerpts from testimony that was provided by both proponents and opponents of the bill. I have provided you some links to the current statutes for Title 29A. We have both the link to the storage fee provision as it currently stands. And then we also have a link to that just brings you to the definition of when a vehicle is considered abandoned. We have received no fiscal impact information at the time of that I put this together. However, I believe at the request of the committee at the public hearing that the department has put together an amendment that they would like to present to you. And I believe Kathy Curtis is available to do that. And I can also pull that up on my screen as I did last time if you would like to see it in real time.
Yeah, thank you, Sam. You're absolutely right. If you recall during the public hearing, I believe a couple of credit union agencies had testified in opposition. Our Senate chair had recommended that they coordinate with the Secretary's office, see if they come up with some reasonable amendment. With that in mind, Ms. Curtis, are you available?
I am. Thank you, Representative Martin. I appreciate your time today. Yesterday, I did facilitate a discussion with the representatives from the towing industry, the credit unions, the insurance industry, and with Representative Bryant. And we really discussed three issues that the interested parties brought up. The first one was that the towing companies really believe that they should have an increase in storage fees, and that is already currently in the bill in LD 1876. The second issue that came out is the credit unions really want to know sooner than they do today if there's one of their vehicles that's being held in a storage facility, if it was towed and being held by a storage facility. And then the third issue we talked about is the insurance companies and the towing industry have some concerns with each other's business operations regarding vehicles that have been towed due to a crash. So we discussed these issues at length, and we believe that we have potential solutions for each of the issues for you to consider. And just to give you a little background, the towing companies explained that one of the reasons why they're looking for an increase is because the vehicles are held on their lot for quite a length of time, holding up space before they actually receive the title. So there are really two reasons why the titles have been held up. And I just want to give you a little background in that. As we have explained to you a couple of times, when the Secretary of State and I came in last year, we inherited quite a backlog in the title section. And we took that very seriously, and we put into place several measures that would completely eliminate the backlog, which this month we are now issuing titles within a week of receiving the application. And we issued over 600,000 titles last year. But during that time, the towing industries, the dealers, people were experiencing delays in getting their titles. And we really believe that we have addressed that issue. However, there's also intentional delays built into the statute to protect vehicle owners and lien holders. And that delay is a towing company will send their title application to us, and then we are required by statute to send a letter to the lien holder and to the owner, giving them the information about where the vehicle is stored and how much it will cost to retrieve that vehicle. And we are required to wait 21 days before we can then issue a title to the company that's claiming the vehicle. Now, sometimes those vehicles are claimed, and we estimate there were about 500 of those applications that were withdrawn last year because someone claimed the vehicle. There were 3,300 of the abandoned vehicle title applications that eventually became where a title was issued to the towing company. So we think we've helped the towing companies in addressing that issue to some degree, but they're still going to experience a a length of time that they have to keep that vehicle on their lot. Excuse me. Now, the second problem that we discussed was the delay in notification to the lien holder. And as I said, under the current law, the Bureau of Motor Vehicles is required to notify the lien holder once we receive the title application. And they expressed to the towing companies yesterday that they'd really like to receive that notification sooner than that. And after some brainstorming, the group agreed that this problem could be addressed if the towing company would be required to determine if there's a lien on the vehicle, and if so, notify that lien holder themselves that they've submitted, that they have the vehicle and that they're going to submit the title application. And based on our data, there are only about 15% of the abandoned vehicles that actually have a lien holder listed. The towing companies could either call BMV, call our office and get that information over the phone, and there's a $5 fee for that, or they could go through our online portal and look up the record themselves. There's a $6.50 fee for that. And so both parties, or all parties, seem to be find that acceptable. The towing company said we'd be happy to look that information up and be able to notify the lien holders. They did want to make sure that they were reimbursed for that cost that it will take to find that information. And we will amend the forms so that that cost to look up that information can be documented as a cost to towing that vehicle. And before we look at that amendment, I just want to say the third issue that we discussed were the concerns between the towing companies and the insurance companies. And after some discussion, we all agreed that those could be addressed at maybe a later time. And I committed to bringing that group together this spring to try and talk about the issues in more in depth, because we really didn't have time yesterday to do that. And so there may be something that comes out of that for next session. I don't know, but I am committed to having that discussion with the group and trying to find some solutions. So that really sums up the results of our meeting yesterday. And I believe Sam has a copy of the amendment. Sam, if you wouldn't mind bringing that up, I can explain that to the committee.
So question, Ms. Curtis, thank you
Yes.
for all the work you've done on this. The amendment that is going to be shared with us, there seems to be agreement and consensus on that with the sponsor and all the parties involved.
Yes, I will tell you that I did send the draft amendment to the group at noontime today. So they had about an hour and a half or so to look at it. I don't know, I did not hear back from anybody, but I believe it captured the spirit of what they were looking for.
Great, thank you so much. Sam? Sam, can you bring that up?
Sorry, I was just in the process.
Senator Chipman, you have a question.
Yeah, I just wanted to ask about that too, about just particularly the credit unions. I'm pretty sympathetic to them usually on most issues. Are they on board with this amendment, Ellen Parent and the Credit Union League?
Yes, very much so. They felt that this would be a big help to them.
And does it take out the fee increase, or is that still in here?
It's still in there. This amendment is an addition to the fee increase.
Okay.
All set, Senator?
Yeah.
Right, go ahead, Sam, or Ms. Curtis.
Thank you. So this amendment amends Title 29A, Section 1854 by adding a Section 1B under notification. And basically it's saying that the owner of the premise where the vehicle is stored or their agent must determine if a title was issued in Maine, and if it was issued in Maine, they shall determine if there's a lien holder. If so, then they are required to contact the lien holder and let them know where the vehicle is being housed. And that's within 14 days after the earliest date on which the lien holder is responsible for any unpaid charges or authorized repair. And that's very similar language to the other parts of this section. And this only refers to vehicles that were towed or left after repair, but was not claimed. And then the rest of this amendment basically just refers, it clarifies that sections 1 and 1A have certain requirements that the Secretary of State must follow, and those requirements are not, do not apply to the towing company that is making notification to the lien. And that's it. And happy to answer any other questions.
Yeah, thank you, Ms. Curtis. Going back to the senator's question, the fee structure was not modified per your amendment?
Correct. The current bill increases the fee from $900, not to exceed $900, I believe, let me just, to not to exceed $1,500. That's as they explained to us yesterday, that's an increase from $30 a day to $50 a day.
Gotcha.
For a 30-day period.
Thank you. Representative White, did you have a question? Representative Bruce White?
Yes, thank you, Representative Martin. And this is really very helpful because I had, as you know, internet issues yesterday. So this was helpful, and I appreciate the work that you did, all those involved in such a short time. And it sounds to me like since the groups agreed on this, the towing companies, the credit unions, that even though the fee is increased, which gets at what the towing companies wanted, the credit unions may even save money because of the notification process is going to be a lot better streamlined. So it's a win-win for both groups. So that really does sound, I appreciate the hard work, and certainly our sponsor, Representative Bryant, helping this move along, and I'm certainly supportive of this in the fashion it's out.
Thank you, Representative. Other questions or comments? Seeing none, Chair would entertain a motion on
I'll
LDD.
move that. I'd like to move that we and ought to pass as
amended.
Amended, yes. Thank you.
Is there a second to that motion?
Second.
There was a second by Representative Williams.
I thought I was going to die for lack of a vote. It's like, what?
Senator Chipman, do you have a question or comment?
Yeah, just a question for Kathy Curtis. Can you tell me who was at the working group that was part of this? And I mean, you're saying they've only had an hour and a half to look at it, but the amendment that you drafted that you sent out at 12 noon today is
yes,
exactly what folks had agreed to. And just looking to see if the lady from Casco Credit Union was there. I remember she testified in opposition. There was a lot of opposition from credit unions and banks, and I just want to make sure that they're all sort of part of that.
I'm confirming, I'm opening my email right now and telling you I sent it to Charlie Sultan from representing the insurance industry. Mid-Coast Truck Repair, that was Mickey, I believe, was that, I think her name is Mickey. Let's see. Let me go back to that. The gentleman that from the towing industry, of course, I wouldn't have that right in front of me as Scott Hatch was there. Ellen Parent from the credit union. Nikki Frazier from the Casco Credit Union, Federal Credit Union. Representative Bryant, Valerie Grant from my staff, and myself. And Mid-Coast, trucking was Mickey Thibodeau.
So Nicole Frazier was there in addition to Ellen and their.
Yes,
credit unions were fine
yes.
with it. I mean, it seems like a large increase to me. I mean, I'm not crazy about it, but if the credit unions were okay with it, I guess I'm okay with it. It's almost doubling the fee, so it seems like a lot all at once, but
You all said, Senator?
yes, I am.
Yeah, thank you. Motion has been made on LD 1876, duly seconded. Further discussion? Seeing none. Darlene, could you do the call, Rook? Darlene, you
I'm what? Are you
call
ready?
the roll.
So, still didn't understand you. Senator Diamond is absent. Representative Danny Martin,
Yes.
Senator Farren. Did we lose him? Senator Farren's absent. Representative Perkins,
Yes.
Representative Perry,
Yes.
Representative Williams,
Yes.
Representative Dustin White is absent. Senator Chipman,
Yes.
Representative Bryant,
Yes.
Representative Bruce White,
Yes,
Representative Tom Martin is absent. Representative O'Connell
Yes.
and
Hi,
Representative
thanks for
Seaver
joining
is
us, and,
absent.
just looking for an explanation as to why it's
Senator Farren,
after your deadline and why it merits our.
Yes, I'm
I
legislative
know.
counsel. I'm multitasking.
gotcha. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Okay, 9 in the affirmative and 4 absent.
Thank you, darling. Stay with us now.
I'm trying.
Having had a great discussion on this piece of legislation, the work session on LD 1876 is now closed.
Thank you.
Senator Farren,
Yes, sir.
you're gonna have to mute yourself or.
Oh.
Thank you. All right, last but certainly not least is LD 1892. Transportation bill, funding bill. I'm assuming that Director Mills is available.
Yep, hold on.
Good afternoon, folks.
friendly looking group, isn't it?
I know. Good afternoon, Director Mills. I'm assuming that you're available to answer any questions or respond to anything. Do you have anything further to add up and beyond what you might have shared with us during the public hearing?
Have you ever seen a phone with a dead battery? The battery is blown up. And it's expanded, and it means that it's totally dead, and I have to go get a new one.
Just for the record, you are Director Peter Mills, correct?
Yes, I am.
And you're going to add the cost of that new phone to what you're asking for, right?
Maybe, yes.
I think he's had that phone since he started here.
Just a reminder, folks, we can be seen and we can be heard, and we're live. Discussion on LD 1892. Sam?
Hi, yes, Representative Martin, did you want me to walk through my very brief bill
I
analysis?
would love you to, yes.
Okay. I will just read I really don't have a whole lot to say for the committee on this one, because we really only received testimony from the Turnpike, and this is a very standard Turnpike budget bill that we get every year. But just to remind the committee, this bill makes allocations from gross revenues of the Maine Turnpike Authority for the payment of the authority's operating expenses for the calendar year ending December 31st, 2023, in accordance with the requirements of the Maine Revised Statutes, Title 23, Section 1961, and subsection 6. And I distributed my bill analysis this morning, and I will note for you that I did provide a link to the preliminary fiscal impact statement so that you can pull that up easily. And unless there are questions for me, that's all I really have for you on this one.
Great, thank you very much, Sam. Senator Farren.
Yeah, still bouncing, but listen, we all know what a great job that Director Mills and his team does with the Maine Turnpike Authority, especially with everything that we've seen through the pandemic and increase in things. And I would like to make the motion of that ought to pass for 1892.
Second.
Motion has been made, duly seconded. Discussion on the pending motion. I'm seeing
Just,
none.
I want to say thank you for the notebooks that Darlene got to us yesterday. Very helpful to glance over the last 24 hours.
Thank you, Representative White. Further discussions or comments? Seeing none. Darlene, if you could do the roll call.
Senator Diamond, absent. Representative Martin,
Yes.
Senator Farren,
Yeah, yes.
Representative Perkins. Is he gone? He's absent. We'll come back to him. Representative Perry,
Yes.
Representative Williams,
Yes.
Representative Perkins.
Yes, sorry.
That's okay. Representative Dustin White, absent. Senator Chipman,
Yes.
Representative Bryant,
Yes.
Representative Bruce White,
Yes.
Representative Tom Martin is absent. Representative O'Connell
Yes.
and Representative Seaver is absent. So 9-4, 9 in favor, 4 absent.
Thank you, Darlene. I believe that concludes our work on LD 1892. Work session is now closed. Darlene, any other things that I might have missed?
Nope, except that Sam's got his hand up for something, but I
Yeah.
think we're all set.
Sam?
Thanks, Representative Martin. I just wanted to note on this last bill that when you see it come out, it'll come out as ought to pass as amended because there will be a fiscal note on it.
Right.
And if that fiscal note ends up looking anything different than the preliminary, which it probably should not, you'll see it before it gets reported out too. I'll make sure to bring it back if there are any hitches.
Right.
The other thing I wanted to mention, and if you have the time for it right now, I do have a bill for back for language review that this committee did an amendment on earlier in the session. And it's pretty simple, but I just wanted the committee to see it before we let it go.
No, that would be great. But before we do that, Sam, Senator Farren, if you're still available, I'm assuming your motion was in fact ought to pass as amended. And Representative Perry, that okay?
Yeah.
Yes, yes, sir.
Great, thank you very much. Sam?
All right, let me pull it up. Okay, let me make this bigger. So as the committee will remember, this was LD 1788, a resolve to rename bridges in the town of Milo for veterans who died during the Vietnam War. And this was a really simple amendment, but as you'll remember during the work session, it was requested that the committee change which bridges get which names. So that's all this amendment does. It's the same names that were originally in the bill. They just got assigned to different bridges. And then one additional thing I wanted to note for you, and I had some communications with the sponsors staff, and this was actually caught in the revision by the revisor's office. It was a very keen catch. Is the original bill spelled one of the names wrong. This was originally it was James Ellison, and the correct way to spell the name is James Ellingson, and we did double check that. So that was a really good catch on their part, and I did confirm that with the sponsor staff that is the correct name. And then, as always, when we amend a bill, even if it's a bridge naming, it comes back with the fiscal note, and it's the typical bridge naming fiscal note, which is that a minor cost increase to the highway fund, and that the additional costs can be absorbed within existing budgeted resources. Does anyone have any questions?
Thank you, Sam. Was that Senator Diamond's, I'm sorry, Senator Davis's bill?
I believe so, yes.
All right, questions from committee members or comments? I am seeing none. Is there anything else, Sam, that we need to discuss?
That was it for me.
Great. Unless the committee members have any questions or ending comments, that concludes our work session. I want to thank you for putting up with this novice chairman today. And we'll see you, what's it, next Tuesday, Sam?
That's correct.
Another note, if you recall, if you're not aware, we are going to be in session on the 10th. And it might require us to not meet as a committee on the 10th for obvious reasons, and we potentially will be meeting on the 11th. Senator Diamond and I and our two leads will be discussing this further. So plan on meeting in committee on the 11th.
We can't have we can't have too much more left, do we?
We don't. What do we got left? That's a good question, Wayne. What do we got left, Sam?
Yeah, so we don't have a ton. So next Tuesday, we have one public hearing. And then the following Tuesday, we have another public hearing. And then with including those two bills, I think we have 6 bills left to work. And most of those are going to happen next Thursday. So yeah, there's not a whole lot. And as I mentioned before, the other thing we'll have to do is the quasi-independent agency reviews when we get those reports. But yeah, it's coming down to the end here pretty quickly.
Well, that's great. Well, thank you guys for all your work. Unless there are any further questions, I see none.
Just for clarification, are we going to be in Augusta on the 10th?
If you recall, on the 10th at 7 p.m., our governor will be making her state of state. And I'm just assuming that we're going to be in session on the 10th, but I have not seen anything official yet.
Okay. Thank you.
All right, folks.
Thank you, Chairman Martin. Excellent job. When I get the survey, I'll make sure to give you high remarks.
All right, great. Maybe I'll get a pay raise. Thank you, Representative White. Good afternoon, folks.
Bye.
Yeah.
Bye.
See ya.